One of the colleges of RIT is the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. It's a federally funded college. Maybe you've heard of Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. Everybody knows Gallaudet. That's a four-year liberal arts college, federally funded by the same act that NTID is funded by. NTID is a two-year technical college on the campus of RIT. It was founded in 1965. They had a big competition around the country for a campus to house NTID. RIT won that competition because of their well-established co-op program for students. Many of the majors at RIT, most of the majors require an extensive co-op or internship program. That was one of the reasons why RIT was awarded to house NTID. NTID, so we're a two-year technical college with a national focus. We have students from all 50 states and 20 different countries that come to NTID to earn associate degrees and may transfer on to baccalaureate degrees in the other colleges of RIT. That's our...
The other 8 are 4 years?
Yeah, all of RIT is a major university, master's, PhD programs. So that's one of the magic, we like to say, of NTID, is that we take students who are not ready for baccalaureate degrees, and probably most of them not even ready for college, and we get them through associate degrees, and half of the students will transfer on to baccalaureate degrees. Some students are directly admitted to the baccalaureate degrees if they have the skills. Within the College of NTID, we all sign, it's all direct instruction. Within the other colleges of RIT, deaf students receive access services such as interpreting and captioning, note-taking, and then they have academic support such as tutoring, and we actually have faculty assigned to the different colleges and programs to support the deaf students that are in those majors.
How many students are at NTID?
We have 1,300 deaf and hard of hearing students at NTID who live, work, and study as part of the same 17,000 hearing students that are on campus. So we are considered one of the largest mainstream program in the world. We are the only technical college in the United States for deaf and hard of hearing students, and at one time we were the only one in the world, but we have helped establish others in other countries. You had a question?
And so your focus is on deaf students and not, say, other sensory mobility?
No, it's on deaf students. Where am I?
How do the other 16,000 students interact? I mean, is there strong interaction?
There's strong interaction. Last year, and for the second time in our NTID history, we've had a deaf student ahead of all of RIT Student Congress, student government. So that's been a really proud moment for us. Our students participate in every level. They participate in sports, fully integrated into the community. You'll see a lot of guys wanting to take sign language freshman year because there's a lot of cute deaf girls around campus and they want to talk to them. There's a big peak in interest when guys are freshmen in sign language. So because of our expertise in mainstreaming deaf and hard of hearing students, we were given awarded an NSF National Center of Excellence last September, so we're a year old in 2011. And our goal is to integrate more deaf and hard of hearing people, students into the workforce, deaf and hard of hearing people into the workforce, STEM, focusing on STEM.
Do you have data on that?
Data on?
What it looks like now?
Yes. I may have a little bit of it. We are developing resources for high schools, community colleges that enroll deaf and hard of hearing students, and future employers of deaf and hard of hearing students, their parents, counselors. So we're building this big website of resources that we're in the process, and I'll share some of it with you today. So I wanted to give you a sample lecture. This is part of the training we do for faculties at community college and at high schools. We have a whole one-day workshop. It's called Project Access, and this is part of it. So I wanted to discuss this with you and give you an idea of what it's like to be a deaf student in a classroom. So we're having a test tomorrow on this subject, so please pay attention and take notes. Here you go. Are you ready? Now, it's kind of old. We're working on updating this, and we will have a new video. So it's kind of old, so it's not the best quality, but you'll get the idea. And let's hope it's going to load.
You want us to use this paper to take notes.
I want you to take notes. Pay attention. Hope you can see.
So is there a test for this?
Take notes. You're ready. Head nod?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, how did that make you feel?
overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
Yeah? Were you able to take notes?
Yeah.
How did you feel about the teacher?
Way too fast.
Way too fast?
Didn't even see it.
You did.
With gender. It was hard because it was like writing down here, but then there was a second word as well.
Yeah, there was words on the screen and
Yep.
words in the captioning. So I wasn't sure which one I should be watching.
And every time you looked down to make notes, you were missing
Exactly.
what's going on. When you're hearing, you can
Yes.
still hear it.
Yes, yes.
It reduces your amount.
Right. I know normally when I show this, people are very eager and they spend the first couple minutes and then all of a sudden They sit back, and that's it. They become totally disengaged from the lecture, totally frustrated, fed up, right? Did you feel like you wanted to attend this class more, or that you would want to go to this class tomorrow?
And this is a compliance issue, right?
What do you mean?
This is a captioning.
Right. This would be an example of a class. If you are a deaf student at RIT, you may be taking this art class, and we intentionally have art because I'm in the STEM field, and I'm assuming most people don't have a background in this part of the art period. I don't know about it. So it makes it, if it was a math course or a computer programming course, you may know the subject. So here, you do not know the subject. So as you were saying, this could be a class where you would be sitting, and what we do at NTID or RIT, we have what's called C-print captioning. So you have a laptop, and there's a captionist in the room, and they do the caption on your computer, and then you're like this.
And does it capturing?
The captioning, so it's like real-time captioning, so it's saying everything the teacher's saying, but you would be sitting in the class with a laptop, and I would be up here lecturing.
But does it save?
Yes, and then we save you can go back and read it, right.
Okay, because if I knew that was happening, then I would
Right.
probably show something.
Right. But at the same time, you're the student, and I'm here, so you have to sit in a way that you have direct vision of me over your computer, and then I'm pointing on this and switching the PowerPoint. So who do you look at? Do you look at me? Do you look at the PowerPoint? Are you looking at your captioning? And it even gets worse if you're in a computer laboratory. And like often people who are teaching computer software, you sit here at the computer, you have the students following you. Okay, click on this on the left side, now see what happens. And imagine trying to do that through an interpreter in the classroom, not even captioning, that you have someone interpreting, and the teacher's here, there's a PowerPoint possibly, there's the computer screen possibly. How do you follow that? So we have developed all these best practices for teaching. So if we look back at that lecture, what did you see was the biggest problem for you in trying to follow the lecture?
She was stepping in front of the
She stepped in front of the PowerPoint, which everybody does, and then you have, words all over your body. And it's hard for deaf people to depend on this part. They depend not just the signs, but they look at your whole body. So it's like this area, so they look at the expressions on your face, read your lips, your body language. So if you're standing here with this, it's very hard for you to see what I'm saying. Other?
Trying to determine where to focus.
Where to focus?
Yeah.
Are you looking at the caption? Are you looking at the teacher? Are you looking at the slides?
Yeah, and I kept thinking, where's the interpreter?
Right. Well, we have deaf students, and a lot of deaf students know sign language, but we also have what they would say hard of hearing students, and they may not know sign language, so they depend on captioning. And for this exercise, of course, I don't have an interpreter here with me. What else?
I had a student that was hard of hearing, but she read lips.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do a lot on the board, and it was
Right.
training myself to, I was writing things with my back to the
Mm-hmm.
classroom, and remembering that I'm talking at the same time as he can't
Hear you, right,
understand what I'm saying.
right.
So that was a huge challenge for me, and I have a lot of students right now that are deaf in my classroom that have interpreters.
Mm-hmm.
And the first semester, I'm kind of a fast talker, and I realized how fast I was talking when the foreign interpreters are going, wait, sorry, what is she?
Right.
I'm so sorry. It felt
That's-
really bad. It was slowing down my whole process.
Right. If you ask all of the students at RIT, the deaf and the hearing students, their number one problem in the classroom, they will tell you pace. If you ask the deaf students, it's the pace. If you ask the hearing students, it's the pace. So if you are teaching with a deaf student in the classroom, or any student in your classroom, if you slow down your pace, put pauses in there, it not only improves the learning for the deaf student, it improves the learning for all students in the classroom.
Instead of using a whiteboard or chalkboard, what we do, or what I've done, because I had a similar problem with what you said, I wind up, we have a camera that faces down, and you can put paper on there and write on the paper, and then you can look at the students and still be able to.
Mm-hmm. We also, because of that also, there was this one teacher who used to, in another college of RIT, would fill up, the boards with notes and notes and notes and notes. And her deaf students couldn't copy them down. So instead, she would post her notes the day before the class, and she would have them online. And the next time she gave an exam, the scores went way up. And she asked, how many of you are using my notes? And all the hearing kids raised their hand, and her grades went way up because all the students, what she did for the deaf students in the classroom, improved it for all students in the classroom. We had, like you said, talking on the back. We had a teacher who would put a picture of something on the back wall. And then she would remind herself she couldn't talk till she saw that picture. And stuff with PowerPoints. And it's very hard to do, and I tried to do it, and it's very hard to do. When you put a PowerPoint up, stop and let people read it, and then talk about it. Because I know when I'm sitting in the audience and someone's putting a PowerPoint up and I'm trying to read the information and they're giving you additional information, you don't get as much as you would like to get out of that slide or what the person is saying because you're fighting between the two.
It's also important to look, if you're doing that with the large screen projection system, to look at the screen and make sure it's working. I have one of my new faculty members talking about all this stuff, and she's looking at her monitor, of course. And when it was over, I said, well, it would be good if you put it on the, and she said, oh my gosh, it wasn't
even on the, oh, how embarrassing.
No, you need to look at that every once in a while.
And again, those things not only help the deaf students, they help any student in the classroom. They help students with English as a second language. All of these things, especially because that's one of the biggest challenges for deaf and hard of hearing students is the acquiring of English skills. So what we do in the classroom has shown to help all students in the classroom, especially the other students who have other language difficulties.
All of our deaf students had a note taker,
Mm-hmm.
either in classroom or
Right.
But again, it's whatever that student or that note taker takes
Writes down, right.
But necessarily I would think that it's important for them to take down, which again I started doing some of the notes on.
Right, do them online. And then all students can have them, not just the deaf students in the classroom too. And we have students now that are we're developing applications where you could take a picture and it would automatically be put into the notes that people are typing on the computer. So if you're doing diagrams and stuff like that, the note taker can take a picture and it will automatically be inserted into the notes. And then the notes can be posted on the web. We do it for everybody, right? Another thing, if you noticed in her presentation, she doesn't define new vocabulary, and she uses this and that constantly. She'll say, well, in one example, she was talking about Van Gogh, and she said, well, compare this to them. So another thing we can do based on universal design principles, this is all universal design, you want to use the words instead of compare this to them, you want to say compare the name of the painting to whatever the other paintings were. And that's a very confusing language. It's very confusing language, and it's confusing for us and even more for deaf and hard of hearing students to follow that, or people or other students with language difficulties. What else did you notice about her lecture? So I'd say number one thing would be pace. This and that. She did not define new terminology. She would just throw these words out that no one knew what they meant. Okay? Standing in front of the PowerPoint. It's funny, we do this live. This teacher said, we'll do a live demonstration of this with an interpreter or with the captionist, and they play this kind of white noise so you really can't hear, and she talks into the microphone like this and she's one of the best teachers on campus, but she'll see people and people immediately don't have a good reaction to her. They have this feeling because they've been through one of those mock classes or seen her on the video. They all think she's a terrible teacher, and you don't feel very friendly towards her after you experience her lecture.
What percentage of faculty do you train on these techniques?
This is what our grant is doing. This is all based on a previous grant that colleagues of ours had called Project Access, and it was some 205, 207 from the Department of Ed and a FIPSI grant. And Deaf Tech, the new center we have, are taking these resources, adding on, because they were mainly geared towards four-year college degree at RIT. So we're adding stuff for community colleges and high schoolers in high school.
If you incentivize your own faculty?
Yeah, at RIT, they have taken these materials and they actually have an internal website that's just for resources and training for our faculty, because we have a lot of resources compared to, we have 150 interpreters on staff at RIT. We have 65 C-print captionists. We have note takers, support facts. So we have this massive infrastructure that other places wouldn't have. But it's part of new faculty training. It's part of new faculty training when faculty come in. And I'll show you all the resources we're developing and already have, and more that we are developing on our website.
Okay, you may have already said that. I'm just wondering, are these classes required of, say, the new teachers? Or is it
I think it's part of new faculty training now.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, so
Yeah.
they have to go.
Yeah, and then we have brown bag lunch, you know, professional development, and there'll be workshops for that.
Okay, and do you offer it online as well?
We have some of the resources online. Here in California, we are, another part of our grants, besides building the resources, is to develop partnerships in California, a partnership model in California, Texas, and Florida. And we're working with community colleges, high school, and employers. And those three groups, people from those three groups came up last summer to RIT for training on this Project Access. It's a whole one-day workshop where you go through these exercises and then come up with a plan for change and how you're going to change your teaching in the classroom to provide better access to students for learning. So we're working with Pierce in California. We're working with the School for the Deaf in Riverside. And we're working with Cisco and Qualcomm and Solar Turbine, other industries we're working with, because we have resources also for employers. So hopefully Pierce will be coming up to this area and providing one-day workshops or 3-4 hour workshops on this type of information, and also providing workshops to employers.
So Pierce is going to be, what you were doing to train the faculty.
Yeah, we did train the trainer program last summer. So they're getting a sub-award from us, and they just got it in September. They just started their part of the project, so they're getting that. I'm meeting with them Monday. I'm doing a little tour of California while I'm here. It depends how they do it. It can be tailored. It could be, you know, it could be quick, like we just did, like an hour. It could be, we're hoping that people will do 3, 4, a whole day, maybe even 2 days. There's tons of material.
It's something that we should consider as part of our faculty development.
We could, yep. That's what a lot of the community colleges, we're working with Austin Community College in Texas and St. Petersburg College in Florida, and they have been doing presentations about our website and the resources, doing this sample lecture for new faculty orientation and on like professional development. They have a faculty professional development day.
Do you work with the Logan College in California?
No, I know they have a huge, large, we will be working with them on some other stuff, but not really this.
I'm not sure anyone's here.
There were, the two guys back there were from Ohlone. I think they left.
Sorry,
Yeah.
from the ICT. So
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But we've worked with Jeannie Gertz, who's in Ohlone, who's the head of the deaf program there.
Yesterday, one of the sessions was on YouTube.
Mhm.
And I learned some great information from them in terms of the editing, the closed captioning.
Yes.
It's part of YouTube itself. It was very
Right. But as you can see, even having closed captioning with the thing, some of the captions were wrong.
Yeah.
And if the automatic captioning, if you want to have a good time, try to automatic caption one of your videos and see what it comes up with.
you can.
You have to go in and edit it, yeah. But that's a big issue. I know in a lot of the colleges, everybody's using YouTube, and if you have videos, and if you have a deaf student in your class, often they're not captioned. There is a guy that's working for Google. His name is Ken Herringstein, who's deaf, and he is developing the automatic captioning. He's one of the software developers for that. And he had said that, I read something, he's on our advisory board actually, but I had read something, he had said that, you know, when the internet and computers came along and email, it was fantastic for the deaf community because it was a total equalizer for them. Because if you're sending email or communicating through a computer, you didn't know who you got the email from was deaf. But once the bandwidth got so large that people were able to do video, again, it brought the access. They're not equal again because most of the stuff on the web is not captioned. All right, so let me show you our website. And it's in progress. We're just a year old, and we're working on it. This is our website. And under resources, you'll see we have best practices for teaching. And this is, it's called Class Act. And you'll see under here, there's all these things. It's based on challenges that you would face in the classroom when you're working with deaf and hard of hearing students and how you can overcome those challenges. Isn't it? So we have like the first day of class, you have pace, complexity. How do you work with your pace? You pace over and over again. How you work with interpreters. We have video from students saying what they like, what happens to them in the classroom, what they like teachers doing. We have videos of teachers explaining their experience of working with deaf and hard of hearing students. We also have a beautiful video for employers from Dow Chemical talking about hiring deaf internships. It's fabulous. So all this stuff is on here somewhere. So if you look at the first day of class, we can look at that one. Go back. I don't want you yet. So if you look on the first day of class, it's a lot of text. We're still working on it. So you can see here's how you get to know your interpreter, your captionist. Huh?
We're still doing
what you do. So it has, here's your challenge, the first day of class. My vision for this website is that any high school, community college, any college teacher, next semester you're having a deaf student. Oh my God, I've never worked with a deaf student. What do I do? Oh, there's Deaf Tech. So on each one there's a related video. So I can give you a little thing here. And she's from RIT professor. Can you hear it? Can we turn that up?
And ask for feedback, particularly from the interpreters, as to how things are going in the classroom and how your instruction is, whether you're talking to staff, to slow, using too many hand gestures, using words that are not definitive enough for the students to understand. And the college is continuing to use a lot of acronyms. So communicating with the interpreters about how to represent those acronyms can be very useful.
And it's actually one of the things that I found is that when I start with a new person in a new class, I give the interpreters a copy of our textbook because our language is so different that they don't typically have shortcuts sign language for. So I would give them the chance to sit down and have a conversation with the student of how they want to do these kind of shortcuts so that when I'm talking they can kind of keep up with what we're talking about. And
Right. Yeah, I mean, again at RIT, we have such a large support staff that we have interpreters that are liberal arts interpreters. You have interpreters for the College of Science. So some of these interpreters could teach the class because they've been interpreting it for, 10 years. So they know the biology or the programming course by heart. But when you're talking about a student that's in a regular community college, the interpreters that they hire from the community may not know the STEM signs or the meaning of what's behind them. And we are also developing a dictionary, an online dictionary for STEM signs. That's one of the things we're working with. For example, in sign language, you have, think of just simple word run, the word run. You can run as in take a jog. You can run for an office. You can run a computer program. You can have a run in your stocking. What other runs are there? A home run. Every single one of them have a totally different sign. We spell it the same in English. But this is to run, a person running. And if you were running for office, you wouldn't be running because this is someone physically running. So if someone signs running for office, what does running? They're running to an office? What are they doing? Yeah, what are they running for? Or you have a run in your stocking? So it's all, the sign language is a very visual, conceptual language. So if you're teaching computer science, ICT courses, and you're at this high level, and there's words, you run a computer program. You execute it. You don't run it. So a lot of concepts, and I have sat in conferences and sat there with my deaf colleagues going, oh my God, how are you understanding any of this? Because conceptually, the person's way over here. They have no idea what the meaning of those words are. So it's very important before classes, especially in technical fields, to sit down with the interpreters and give them the vocabulary and a little background on what it means so they can pick the correct sign or work with the students to develop the correct sign that would reflect the meaning, the conceptual meaning of the word. Someone had a question?
I was just going to say that sometimes, like, English is a second language. If you have a bunch of students who are from the same country and they don't understand the definition of the words, what I found out, I taught a class in China for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I thought, how inappropriate, everybody's doing their phone thing, you know? And the grad aide was telling me they were looking up words.
They were looking up words, wow.
You need to tell me when you don't understand something.
Yeah. I mean, often being a hearing person, I mean, my sign language is okay, and I would try to explain a concept in class, and they'd be looking at me, and I'd ask a student, and they'd do one short little sign, and everybody understood it. And I'm struggling and struggling. So I do that often, too. I ask the students.
So, this is just maybe completely ignorant. When a student graduates and gets a job, they've had note takers and they've had interpreters with them, and this doesn't continue on in the job.
No, it does not.
So
depends unless you work for like Google or IBM, then they have interpreters on staff.
So then how are we teaching students that? I mean, it was back where earlier.
There we will have a whole section for students that has career awareness. We're in the process of getting role models. I'm doing everything you were talking about self-efficacy and role models. There's a whole section. There'll be a whole section on, you know, accommodations and what has to happen in the workforce. There'll be stuff on interviewing and strategies for communicating in the workplace. I mean, we at NTID, we have a whole job search and employment seminar and interview practices, and we go through all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to gather it and put it someplace so other people can use it, because we've been developing these resources for 50 years, and we have a wonderful placement and placement rate, and our students go on to have wonderful lives and careers, but the rest of the country doesn't know about it. When I go places, have you ever heard of PEPNet? PEPNet's in LA now. They just won a $20 million award to have PEPNet, and PEPNet used to have 4 centers around the country, and their main thing was to transition students into college and help colleges. But if you go to colleges and ask people, do you know PEPNet, they say no unless PEPNet was in their college.
PEPNET?
PEPNET 2, it's called PEPNet 2 now. But if I go to colleges and say, do you know ATE? Everybody knows ATE. But if you go into the deaf community, the deaf education, do you know ATE? No, they know TechNet. So that's one of the things about this ATE, this NSF award, is it allows us at NTID to become at a different level nationally in STEM education with all the community colleges that we've never been able to outreach before. So it's really been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us.
Is there any place that it actually dictates or kind of guidelines to employers that based on whatever the student's disability is, whether it's hard of hearing or supporting disability or what they're required to do for accommodations? Because
I don't know. I mean, I think the law says reasonable accommodations, and what's reasonable for you as the employer and how the person with the disability interprets that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not.
There aren't any specific standard guidelines.
Right.
Because every building, every job,
right.
You couldn't write anything standard.
Right.
I mean,
it doesn't say if you're deaf you have to have an interpreter for them. It just says you have to have reasonable accommodations, which most cases would be making sure you have fire alarms with flashes. Make sure you have doorbells. Like in offices, we have doorbells outside. You hit it and it flashes a light inside. If they're using a telephone, that the telephone would have a flash. A certain kind of equipment would have flash if there was an alarm going off. That would be a reasonable accommodation.
I just never over time if there's been any type of kind of guidelines. Because I know that we're running into that in our school, not just the deaf and hearing students, but anyone that has ADHD that needs to take that on 50
right.
more time.
Right.
Reduce distractions is, are we really setting them up for failure to leave us? Because a reasonable accommodation at a company might not say, well, the deadline is Wednesday, but you can do it at Wednesday afternoon.
Right. Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an example. Here's a student. Oh, did you go?
Hi, I'm Sarah Block. I'm a biology major in the political science.
She's hard of hearing, obviously.
I would say that one thing would be to not make presumptions about like levels of hearing loss or like students' ability to communicate. I've had teachers who have thought that I've perfect hearing and I'll be walking right next to them and they'll be like talking really fast and not looking at me and I need to like address that. I've had professors also just yelling at me without speaking and that's just really confusing for me. It's really off and I just wonder, I'm like, what? So definitely just not making presumptions about that kind of thing and talking with the students and being free to ask, are you going to speak up and that kind of thing. And also, I would say being, for me, I've gone to classrooms and my speaker computer will be set in the back of the classroom and the teacher will be in the front. And I'm like, why aren't I in the front where the teacher is? So I think being attentive to where different kinds of students are sitting in the classroom and if that allows them to have the best access to the information. I'd definitely paying attention to that would be helpful.
CPRIT is our captioning. We developed it's almost like court reporting, where it's almost a shorthand that people type instead of CART, which is real-time captioning, where it's word for word for word. CPRIT condenses some things and it's quicker. And it uses almost like a shorthand. So as you can see, here's another one, a math major.
My name is Tyler Swab, and I'm a third-year applied math major in the College of Science. As classes become harder and harder, a wonderful way for new teachers to help deaf students is to make it clear that they are willing to review the notes that have just been taken, either right after class ends or during a break to make sure that information is not missing. Or if the notes are missing, then they can be adjusted immediately. Deaf students understand completely and are sure they haven't missed anything. The second tip I would like to suggest is that the teacher should let the deaf students know during the first class, either after class ends or during the break, that if they don't understand something or don't feel comfortable during the lecture, that they should feel free to meet with them to ask questions. Deaf students don't feel comfortable approaching the teacher. But those are 2 tips I would suggest to new teachers.
See, sign that
What's
fast
the
form,
amount?
Yeah.
because that's
Huh?
speed it up.
What's he mouthing?
His words mostly.
His word?
Yeah.
He is what he-
Yeah. Here's another professor, English
I'm
professor.
Michael Boyer. I work over in Donna College,
Oh.
Information Science and Technologies. There is an adjustment, and you have to adjust the way that it's used. So everything I say or anybody says, well, take it, take it, try it, and adjust it for yourself. One idea is that, oh, okay, I have to treat them different. No, not so. Treat like a student, call on them at the same time as same as anybody else. If they don't answer the question because they don't understand it, be patient with any other student. Just treat them like a regular student, and you'll learn what adjustments need to be made or getting questions across. Maybe they were a little bit distracted, didn't hear the last thing you said. Maybe that's why you're calling on them. Get back into the discussion. So they have to go back and repeat because they did not hear anything that they were typing or it's like you're flipping this page, you're flipping to the page, they are not hearing the next 4 or 5 sentences of why they're flipping to that page. So those types of things. Okay. Yeah. I said that they're actually doing what I told them to do, and that's why they didn't hear me. So there's those kind of adjustments.
On here.
Do you have any deaf faculty?
Oh, we do within the college, yeah.
Oh, within the college?
Yeah. And I think there's a couple in RIT also, and the College of D'Alessandro and the Computer College. So on here also you will see there's tips, there's there's all this, and where's the first day of class video? Oh, where are you? I thought you were right over here. I am looking for my teaching tools, and you can look through this. There's a whole bunch of videos. These are all videos on students' perspectives. Here's the students' top 10 list. This is what I was looking for. Will this come up? And it's we had a panel of students, a group of students get together, and these are the top 10 things that they would like teachers to do. And there you have the this and that. Don't use words like this and that. Have the PowerPoints ready. Treat the students equally. Have flexible interpreters. Are not always an accurate reflection of what the students are voicing for them. Voicing for a deaf person is an extremely hard thing to do, and often interpreters are incorrect. I was at an ACM convention many years ago with my, who is now my boss, my chairperson, who is deaf and does not use her voice. We were giving a presentation. I got done, it was her turn. The person voicing was so bad. I was so embarrassed for her. She looked like an idiot. My colleague who was sitting next to the interpreter took the microphone and started voicing for my boss because the interpreter that was hired was so bad. And the people in the audience are not thinking it's the interpreter. They're thinking that this woman was a buffoon, you know.
The boss was signing and
Was voicing for her and had no clue what she was saying.
Okay, because I was at a conference at Sloan Merlot last summer, and I forgot the university. It's a private university that actually started with an A. Anyway, they had a student panel of students with different disabilities, and one was a deaf student, and he actually had a voicing system. It was an electronic voicing system, and he was very pleased that it was actually a male voice. He says a lot of times when he gets these,
really?
Their person, I guess, choose whether it would be a female or a male voice, and it was wonderful.
Great, yeah.
Very
I
clear.
don't think I've seen those. It's like a text-to-voice maybe kind of thing? Voice-to-text? Or who would be text-to-voice?
It looked live. I mean, we saw his mouth moving, and we heard the synthesized voice.
It was synthesized, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't go well with us.
Like that.
There's the whole political deaf community, and I don't,
This man had been deaf from birth, and he could not speak.
Right.
He can make noise.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is handing this out. and ask at any sort of, workshops and saying, who wrote this? What are these, who's asking for these? You wouldn't know as a deaf person.
No.
About universal design.
Yeah, all of this is all based on universal. The only thing would be is the interpreter.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And it's interesting.
So anything a teacher does to improve the access to learning is what we call it. Improves it for not only the deaf students, it's for the hearing students. Often hearing students at RIT will sign up for classes that they know deaf students are in. Because there's a deaf student in there, the teacher's going to slow down. They will have notes available online. So you'll see those classes fill up quickly.
It's a concept of, I work with
All right, I'll get rid of you.
a state group of the systems of higher education, public higher ed, around foster youth completion. And universal design is something that we've talked a lot about with the foster youth population, in that they have special needs, but when you take care of those special needs of the student population, and then you apply those strategies more broadly to your general student population, everyone is in a much better way.
And what happens also, we find, working with the deaf students, it's such a small incident. Deafness it's not a huge population that's deaf. People will come up and say, oh, this is great work. You should do it for the blind. You should do it for this group. You should do it. And people tend to put people with disabilities in one group. And if you put them in one group, normally it's the deaf people whose needs are not being met, because their needs are all communication. Where you have a blind person, you don't have communication barriers. Someone who's physically disabled, you don't have the communication barriers. So when they're put together like that, it's a challenge. And that's why we have Gallaudet and why we have NTID, because the normal accommodations for people with disabilities do not help those with deafness. There's that Helen Keller quote that says, blindness separates people from things, deafness separates people from people, because you have your barrier of communication.
If we meet the needs of deaf, probably
they're meeting the needs of most people in the classroom, right? So why is this important? So why is Deaf Tech and why are deaf students important? And especially within ICT, we keep seeing that there's all these job opportunities out there, and that the needs of the workforce are not being met. While deaf and hard of hearing people are an untapped pool, they're skilled workers. And if we see here, we have, as a population, more deaf and hard of hearing people attend, a percentage of the population attend two-year colleges, but more of them are in STEM programs, but less of them graduate. Almost half.
Do we know why?
No. The average graduation rate around the country in community colleges is about 25%. For deaf and hard of hearing students. At NTID, it's like 55 at the associate level. At the baccalaureate level, it's like 70. We have an amazing, we're better than the hearing students at RIT. Those bright kids that could go to RIT who are deaf and hard of hearing.
So what percentage of the country, do you know? Is there any statistics?
It's like 1 in 1,000, I believe.
Students, post-secondary students?
That are deaf and hard of hearing, the population. I think general population is 1 in 1,000, I believe. So there's like 100, what do we have? How many million? But what becomes confusing is, deafness can be a label, and people going into community college, if they don't declare it as a disability, you don't know if they have hard of hearing or they're deaf. And then when you're trying to find out what part of the population is deaf or hard of hearing, you have the latent hard of hearing adults who you lose your hearing as you get older. So it's very, very hard. You will see some places saying there's, 10 million deaf and hard of hearing people in the country. Other places you'll say there's 5 million profoundly deaf. It's really hard to get a number. And it's not a huge research area. But we've been trying to do more research. This is a paper that was just recently done. This is in 2007, the labor unemployment in 2007. So 59% of deaf and hard of hearing people participated in the workforce compared to 80% of the general population. And that was the ages between 25 and 65 or whatever that age is. Deaf workers in STEM occupations earned 51% more than deaf and hard of hearing employed in other occupations. STEM degrees reduce the earning gap between deaf and hearing, like by 86%, I think. So a deaf person in a STEM field will make 86% of what a hearing person makes. In other fields, it's a huge gap. Huge gap. And I'm sure that's the same with gender.
Yeah, we used to do women earn 86, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Women only earn 77 cents.
But do they look at STEM occupations?
Even actually, there's a really good article it's called Scientists, Your Bias History. Unbelievable.
Really?
Bias amongst, I think it's actually almost exactly 87. It's like 84%. But that's with women and men, the bias is the same against women.
So,
what a great writing.
Thank you.
Very good.
Visit the website. It's deaftech.org. We're building it. We were told by our advisory board in October to get stuff up there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it up there and you can fix it later. It was like, okay.
Can I put it into our PowerPoint?
You can put it everywhere, yes, definitely. We're, still.
We trot it out.
That's exactly what we want, right? Right? Yeah. And on here, soon, I have a woman, she's doing, we have a workshop called Working Together, Deaf and Hard of Hearing People for Employers that I am putting online, and it has hearing exercises and simulations. We're going to do a simulation similar to a meeting to know what it's like being a deaf person in a meeting so that employers could get that idea. So that will be on there, and we're having it in training modules so that people in human resources could possibly get like continuing education units as if they finish the whole package, because a lot of human resource professionals are required to do continuing education in their field.
And when will that be done?
I don't know. I have this animator that's working on, an avatar and all that kind of stuff, the new e-learning kind of stuff, and she's driving me crazy. So hopefully, she keeps telling me when it will be done. So haven't seen much lately. So hopefully, I would say she's telling me February. I'm going to say by the spring.
That'd be really great to have our organization have that training.
Yes, yes. So we have partners here. We're willing to come out. We have our employment specialists that go to companies. That's another thing. We have the industry partners in each of the states that we're working with. Like I said, Cisco, Qualcomm, and Solar Turbine here in California. They came and attended Train the Trainer for us. So they would learn how to offer the Working Together workshop, and they've committed to offering a certain amount of workshops for us in their area.
When those industries come, who do they send?
It's the human resource, yes. Cisco sent, they have disability, accessible, blah, blah, blah division. They were actually like, I think they were designers for stuff, but they also do training.
It's a real commitment.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Yeah, they don't have gender equity departments there.
Yeah, they have they have disability officers and everything.
In their organizations.
All the women are in the human resources. All the women that came for training in the human resources. Yes. Thank you.